Describe a feeling and tell me if you recognize it. People understand you, you know the grammar, you know the words, you can explain ideas, you can hold conversations, and yet something still feels off. Your English sounds correct, clear, understandable, but not natural or relaxed. Just not exactly the same way that natives sound when they talk. And the very most frustrating part is that you don't know what is wrong. Nobody corrects you and nobody tells you what to fix. You just kind of feel it. Now, if this is you, I want to make this very clear right at the beginning. This feeling is completely normal and it has nothing to do with your intelligence. And it definitely doesn't mean that you are bad at English. In fact, it usually means that you're actually really close. Before we keep going, I want to quickly mention something that fits this topic, especially if you teach English, tutor, or create your own learning material. I've been using EdCafe AI, which is an AI platform specifically designed for educators, not just generic text generation. What I really like about it is that it lets you build practice around real spoken English. Incomplete sentences or reactions, tone, instead of just forcing everything into perfect grammar boxes. If you're a teacher, tutor, or serious learner who builds your own practice, this saves a huge amount of time and mental energy. I'll link EdCafe AI below if you want to explore it. And now let's look at why this strange feeling happens in the first place. So this stage we've discussed is emotionally difficult because when you are a beginner, everything made sense. You didn't expect to sound natural. But now at this point, you've been studying and learning for years and your English works. The sentences are correct. And at this point, even your mistakes are really small. So why doesn't it feel right? This is where many learners get stuck. It's because they keep doing the same thing. More grammar, more vocabulary, more correction, but that doesn't solve this problem. And that's because this problem is not about knowledge. It's about how English is actually used. Most English learners believe that the goal is to speak correctly. So naturally, because of this, you focus on grammar, sentence structure, accuracy, choosing the right words. That works, but only up to a point. But here's the misunderstanding that no one really explains. Native speakers don't speak correct English. They speak comfortable English. Correctness does matter, but comfort matters more in everyday speech. Native English is relaxed, it's emotional, it's honestly a little incomplete, and most of all, it's flexible. People start talking and they adjust as they're speaking. While in comparison, learners often sound careful, tense, or overly precise, even when everything is correct. And that's exactly the gap. So here is the real reason that your English sounds strange. You are speaking written English out loud. Textbooks teach English as if sentences are complete and ideas are fully organized, thoughts are finished. But real life conversation is spoken, emotional, fast, and a little messy. Spoken English follows completely different rules than written English. And once you understand those rules, the strange feeling finally makes sense. So let's break them down. Reason number one is that you use too much structure. Learners often speak in full, carefully built sentences. Here's an example of this. A learner would say, "I think that this is a very good idea." Nothing is wrong with this, it's technically correct, but a native speaker would say, "Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, totally." Or even just, "Yeah." So what's happening here? Native speakers remove structure because the context is already clear. Speed matters and emotion matters more in detail. So native speakers cut out subjects, extra verbs, and unnecessary explanations. So you usually end with actually quite a short response. The most important thing for conversation is not correctness, it's actually flow. So the reason learners struggle here is because you are trained to show your English. So you feel a little unsafe cutting things away. But fluency actually starts to grow when you start saying less, not more. So there are 3 things you can do to start to fix this. 1, start shortening your sentences. 2, allow fragments. And 3, let meaning do the work. So why does incomplete English feel more natural? This, I know, for language learners can actually feel a little scary. Many learners think to themselves, if I don't say everything, I'll sound stupid. While native speakers think the opposite. If I say too much, it'll sound strange. Natural English is actually very efficient, and it's also a shared conversation. Silence and simple language are not mistakes. They're signals of comfort for each other while you're speaking. So reason number 2 is that your tone is too flat. This is one of the most important and the least taught things. Learners often speak with a flat tone, careful rhythm, and equal stress. This happens because you're concentrating. You have to think to speak in a foreign language. But native speakers do not speak evenly. They are constantly changing their pitch, their rhythm, and the stress that they put on the words. They actually stretch emotional words, just like I did there, stretch emotional words, and they soften other words. So let's compare a sentence here. A learner would say, that sounds interesting, just like that. And a native speaker would say, oh, that sounds really interesting. Now, these have a lot of the same words, but what they communicate is completely different. So native listeners do not hear just words. They hear emotion that is being carried through the words. And a flat tone sounds cautious, distant, and unnatural. There is just one thing that you really need to focus on. You need to stop copying sentences and start copying tone. So reason number 3 is that you over-explain. Learners often explain too much because they want to sound clear, polite, and correct. For example, a learner would say, I will not be able to attend the meeting tomorrow because of some other obligation. Whereas a native speaker would say, I can't make it tomorrow, I've got something else. So notice here that what the native says is actually shorter, and it trusts the listener to follow the context. And it simply just feels more natural. Now, this is a great example to show how natives rely on the shared context, but learners don't trust that context yet. So here's what you can do to fix this. Simply just say less. Trust the listener to follow you and let the details go. Now, why does saying less feel so hard? It's because over-explaining feels very safe, and short answers often feel a little risky. I know this feeling from speaking other languages, and it can be very daunting to answer with a very short answer, not knowing that the listener is going to fully understand what you mean. But fluency is not about safety. Fluency is about a shared conversation. Native speakers assume you know what I mean, and that assumption is exactly what makes English sound so relaxed. So, reason number 4 is that you think before you speak. This is a huge one, and it's also the hardest to break. Learners often plan sentences, translate in their heads, or correct themselves mid-speech. Native speakers think to themselves before they speak, what do I mean? And that's what guides the words that come out. They do not think to themselves, is this sentence correct? That difference creates a flow when speaking. When you stop to fix English while speaking, your fluency immediately disappears. So what should you do to fix this? You need to let sentences come out imperfect. Don't interrupt yourself and let the meaning lead. Now, I know that's really hard, but if you can manage to do that and to let the perfection go, your English is actually going to sound so much more natural. So here's the truth. Native speakers constantly say unfinished sentences, slightly incorrect grammar, unclear phrases, and no one notices because the flow continues. Fluency is momentum. Now, reason number 5 is that you avoid small human words. Native speakers constantly use words like kind of, maybe, I mean, you know, like, and learners avoid these because they seem incorrect. They weren't taught to put those in, and so those feel very lazy. But these words actually do very important work. They soften, they connect, and they actually humanize your language a little bit. So all you need to do to fix this is to start using them. They make your English sound alive, so just start putting them in a little here and there. So from these 5 reasons, how can you actually fix this? How can you actually start speaking more naturally? Here is what actually works. Start listening to conversations, not lessons. And make sure that you copy sentence length, not the grammar. Also, you need to practice reacting, not answering. Remember to focus here on comfort rather than correctness, on reaching a sort of conversation flow. And lastly, let yourself sound imperfect and make mistakes. This is exactly how English stops sounding strange. So if your English sounds correct but strange, it means something very important. It means that you've already passed the hard part. You're not bad at English, you're not missing intelligence. You are learning the part that no one teaches. And once you learn it, your English doesn't just improve, it starts to sound like you speaking English. Now, this is also where pronunciation starts to really matter. Not perfect sounds, but stress, rhythm, and how reactions flow together. If this part feels hard, I've put together a short pronunciation workout that helps you practice exactly this: natural stress, relaxed rhythm, and real reaction sounds. So if you like structure, it's designed to significantly improve your pronunciation by the end of just 1 week. So I've linked it below if you want something guided to practice with. If this video helped you, please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel. I post weekly lessons that help you sound natural, confident, and fluent. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.